Every morning, millions of Americans wake up in car-dependent suburbs, while Europeans step out into walkable neighborhoods designed for daily life. On the left, we see the American reality, isolated suburbs where a car isn't luxury, but necessity. On the right, the European alternative, mixed-use neighborhoods where bakeries, cafes, and shops create vibrant street life within walking distance. The contrast is stark. In Zurich, 99.2% of residents can walk to essentials in under 15 minutes. In Dallas, just 3%. This isn't about culture. It's about design choices made 70 years ago that now cost Americans an extra $10,000 per year, steal 54 minutes from every day, and make buying milk require a 2-ton machine. In the following minutes, we'll explore how European cities got it right, and what America can learn from places that still build for people, not just cars. Picture this. A researcher stands in a suburban neighborhood with a stopwatch and a simple question. Can you walk to buy groceries? Can your kid walk to school? Can you reach a doctor without driving? Start the timer. Begin walking. In European suburbs, this experiment ends quickly. The timer rarely passes 15 minutes before you've reached shops, transit, schools, or clinics. But try the same test in a typical American suburb, say Plano, Texas, or Naperville, Illinois. And you might still be walking along a 6-lane arterial road with no sidewalk when the timer hits 45 minutes. If you even survive the journey. This isn't hyperbole, it's mathematics. A recent study published in Nature Cities measured exactly this: the percentage of residents who could reach essential services within a 15-minute walk. The results were stark. European cities dominated the top of the list. Zurich at 99.2%, Milan at 97%, Copenhagen at 96%. American cities clustered at the bottom, San Antonio at 3%, Indianapolis at 5%, Atlanta at 9%. But why does this matter? Because that 15-minute difference compounds into something massive. The average American spends 54 minutes per day driving, burning through $10,800 annually on car ownership. Europeans? They walk 15 minutes to a train station and read a book on their commute. The geometry of suburbs literally determines how you'll spend 13% of your waking life. The strangest part is that this wasn't inevitable. In 1950, American and European suburbs looked remarkably similar. Small towns with walkable main streets, houses clustered near train stations, corner shops serving local neighborhoods. Then, something changed. Europe rebuilt from World War II with a specific vision. America built something else entirely. Walk down a residential street in Delft, Netherlands, and something feels off. There's no curb, no sidewalk, no lane markings. Cars, bicycles, and pedestrians share the same brick-paved surface. Children play hopscotch where you'd expect traffic lanes. Planters and benches sit in what should be the roadway. This is a Woonerf, literally living street, and it's the opposite of everything American traffic engineering teaches. The Woonerf works on psychological subversion. Without clear lanes or boundaries, drivers' brains shift into uncertainty mode. They slow to 15 kilometers per hour naturally, make eye contact with pedestrians, navigate carefully around obstacles. It's controlled chaos that produces exceptional order. Since the Netherlands introduced Woonerfs in the 1970s, injuries on these streets dropped by 95%. Now cross the Atlantic to a typical American suburb. Here you'll find what traffic engineer Charles Marone named Stroads, the bastard offspring of streets and roads that fail at both functions. A street should build community wealth, slow traffic, accessible businesses, places where people linger. A road should move traffic efficiently between places, limited access, high speeds, no distractions. Stroads try to do both. 45 miles per hour traffic lanes lined with strip malls, driveways every 50 feet, pedestrians dodging between cars. Take Highway 19 in Florida.
US 19 has become a very busy road and even a deadly one.
America's deadliest Stroad. 6 lanes of traffic moving at 55 miles per hour, yet driveways and crosswalks every block. In 2021 alone, it killed 52 pedestrians. The engineering is schizophrenic. Highway speeds with street-level conflicts. It's like designing a Formula One track through a shopping mall. The physics explains the carnage. At Woonerf speeds, 15 kilometers per hour, a driver's cone of vision spans 180 degrees. They see everything. At Stroads speeds, 70 kilometers per hour, tunnel vision kicks in. The cone narrows to 40 degrees. Peripheral pedestrians become invisible. Reaction distance stretches from 3 meters to 35 meters. A child stepping off a curb has gone from easily avoided, already dead. But here's the truly insane part. Stroads don't even move traffic well. Those constant driveways and turn lanes create what engineers call friction. Traffic constantly slows for turning vehicles, speeds up, slows again. A Dutch motorway moves 200 vehicles per hour per lane steadily. An American Stroad moves 800 vehicles per hour in fits and starts. We sacrifice safety for speed, then didn't even get the speed. Here's a number that makes American traffic engineers break out in hives: 30 kilometers per hour. That's 18.6 miles per hour. It's the speed the Netherlands sets for every residential street, the speed that Sweden mandates near schools, the speed that's spreading across European suburbs like a patient virus. It's also the speed that makes American drivers apoplectic with rage. But the math doesn't care about your feelings. At 30 kilometers per hour, a struck pedestrian has a 90% survival rate. At 50 kilometers per hour, just 12 miles per hour faster, survival plummets to 20%. This isn't a linear relationship, it's exponential. Let me make this visceral. At 30 kilometers per hour, hitting a pedestrian is like dropping them from a first-floor window, survivable with likely injuries. At 50 kilometers per hour, it's like dropping them from the 4th floor. At 70 kilometers per hour, common on American suburban arterials, it's like dropping them from the 10th floor. The heights are physics. The choice of speed is policy. European suburbs redesigned around this reality. They didn't just post lower speed limits, that's useless. They rebuilt the geometry to make higher speeds feel wrong. Narrow lanes that force attention. Speed humps every 100 meters. Chicanes that break sightlines. Raised crosswalks that act like speed tables. Trees planted close to the roadway that create optical narrowing. Your brain interprets these cues and your foot lifts off the accelerator without conscious thought. The time penalty? Minimal. Dropping from 50 to 30 kilometers per hour on a typical 2-kilometer suburban trip adds 96 seconds. That's the length of a single red light. But American suburbs resist viscerally. City council meetings erupt when 25 miles per hour streets are proposed. Neighbors petition against speed humps. The mere suggestion of narrowing lanes triggers property value panic. Yet the same Americans vacation in European cities and marvel at how pleasant the streets feel. They don't connect that pleasantness to the 30 kilometers per hour design. They attribute it to culture or history instead of recognizing it as engineering. Those charming cobblestones that force you to slow down, that's not old world quaintness, that's intentional friction. Those narrow medieval streets in brand new Dutch suburbs, they're narrow because the engineers did the math on kinetic energy. Vision Zero, the Swedish policy to eliminate traffic deaths, sounds utopian until you realize it's just physics applied to policy. Designed for 30 kilometers per hour, and deaths approach zero. Designed for 70 kilometers per hour, and deaths are guaranteed. There's no innovation that changes this. Only the choice between 96 extra seconds and 96 extra funerals. In Vauban, a suburb of 5,500 people in Freiburg, Germany, something impossible happens every morning. Parents wave goodbye to children who walk to school alone. Teenagers bike to sports practice without supervision. Elderly residents stroll to doctor appointments. 70% of families don't own cars. They aren't poor. These are middle-class Germans. Not because cars are banned. You can own one if you pay 23,000 euros for a parking space. They don't own cars because they don't need them. The engineering makes this possible through deliberate friction differentials. Cars aren't forbidden. They're just less convenient than alternatives. Streets narrow to 3 meters, forcing 7 kilometers per hour speeds. Parking sits at the district edge, a 5-minute walk from homes. Meanwhile, the tram stop is 2 minutes away. Bike paths are door adjacent, and the kindergarten, grocery, and cafe are downstairs. Every decision nudges toward walking and cycling without mandating anything. The amenity density is surgical. Within 400 meters, a 5-minute walk, residents find 2 kindergartens and 1 elementary school, 3 playgrounds and 1 community center, 2 organic grocery stores, and 1 weekly market, 4 cafes, and 2 restaurants. 1 health center with 6 doctors, 600 local jobs in offices above shops. This isn't random. German planners calculated exact walking distances, optimal mixing ratios, and minimum population densities needed to support each business. The kindergarten needs 50 families within 250 meters. The grocery needs 200 households within 400 meters. The tram needs 4,000 people within 600 meters. Stack these circles and you get a precise neighborhood geometry. American suburbs do the opposite calculation. They measure turning radii for fire trucks, sight distances for 45 miles per hour traffic, and parking ratios for Black Friday peaks. Every standard assumes universal car ownership, then reinforces it. The question isn't whether American suburbs are sustainable. They're not. The question is whether we'll admit the experiment failed and rebuild, or whether we'll clutch our appreciating assets while the young flee to any place built for humans instead of cars. Either way, that 15-minute walk to buy milk isn't just European whimsy. It's what functional human habitat looks like. We've just forgotten, buried under 70 years of asphalt and zoning codes, what it feels like to live in a place designed for life instead of driving. The rest of the world never forgot. Maybe it's time we remembered.